Hey there, everyone. Welcome to my channel and welcome to the first long form video about Pokemon cards. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how I am collector wise, what I think about the state of the hobby, and what I think about the state of the Pokemon cards that are available these days. So, first thing about me as a collector, as you might guess from what you are seeing, my favorite style of cards are these original EX cards. Here I have I guess my top 10 favorite ones. I don't have them all. I have 22, but they definitely are my favorite style. Probably because of some nostalgia. This was my first pack was Aquapolis, but this was the first era where I was collecting somewhat, and yeah, it's definitely a joy being able to collect these kind of cards again. Now, as you can see, most of these copies are Japanese version. They're cheaper, you know. There's no other reason. Not that I don't like the Japanese style. And actually, gotta say, I I like the fact that they got done with the e-reader style that the first EX sets had in elsewhere besides Japan. They went to this style right from the start. Not obviously, I want to own at least one of those older EXs where they still had the e-reader marking and some bars here just on the bottom. They didn't have anything on the side. They looked just like the ones here, but they had still a little bit of the e-reader design in the bottom. I want one just for collection, just for historical purposes. But I definitely like much more this cleaner style of cards, and the Japanese have them all throughout. Here we have a Italian OO, and I actually found a very good copy for cheap for this Claydol EX. It's actually the English version, but all the others are Japanese. Um, and yeah, this is my favorite era to collect. I've been mostly collecting the EXs, but there's also a lot of great holo cards that you can get. Um, I bought a Pidgeot Delta species, which in and of itself is also uh, a great thing to collect, the Delta species Pokemon. Here I don't have any Delta species EX cards, but I do own some. own two, so I guess I'll just reach out here because I have the pile of the rest that I have. So I'll get some just to showcase. I have here a Kingdra, and here like you have with the hollows, you have a bit of a different pattern. The borders, they're more plain. They don't have the I guess the sparkly effect that the other ones have. And it's not the background that shines, it's the Pokemon. So as far as holographic patterns, that's pretty much the difference between a Delta species EX and a regular EX. I have here another example, a Tyranitar EX. Again, it's a Pokemon that shines. The shine is similar to the borders. It's not as sparkly as the regular EX cards. But obviously, I collect a bit of everything, or at least I try to within my budget. Um, I get a lot of Scarlet and Violet Japanese cards. Um, they're pretty cheap. Most of the art rares are very affordable. So are some of the SIRs. So most of the ones that I have are the cheapest ones available, which is fine. I'm not, obviously, I'm not just buying them because they are cheap. I'm buying them because they uh, appeal to me visually, but I try to keep it, financially responsible. And yeah, so reiterating, I collect a bit of everything. I've been putting focus on the EX cards. I started with one that I still had as a kid. And now I'm at 22, and I managed to buy the clay doll, which as a kid I traded. I shouldn't have. I traded for what you would call now bulk. But when I was younger, I thought, what? What? 50 cards for one? Well, it should be a good deal. Well, it ain't, because those 50 cards definitely, well, I was going to say they are not worth it, but at the time they definitely weren't. But I think I got a Snorlax from the e-reader era, which I think is now worth more than the Claydol. Obviously, if it's near mint condition. But yeah, this was definitely one of my goals to get the Claydol back. I also had a Mew EX, which I also traded, and that one's gotten more expensive, so I haven't put in the effort to get it. But I did get this Lugia EX, which is more expensive, so I guess it's just, time. I'll give it time, and eventually I'll get one. Now, what do I think about the hobby, in especially when it comes to YouTube content? It has grown. You have an abundance of content with all kinds of production quality or production values. You have a lot of content with production values like mine, which are the bare minimum. And you have much more edited content. So it's definitely a sign that the hobby has grown and the cards are very popular, but there are obviously some downsides to it. And the thing that I'm not saying that people shouldn't do it. It's there's space for everything in a hobby, but one thing that I don't particularly like uh, is treating Pokemon cards like investment. Almost like owning stocks, and the excessive mention of how much the card is worth in a secondary market. It's really not what it is about, and I think most of the people who like the hobby don't like it to then buy it. So does it really make sense to say that, oh, I spent 70 euros on an ETB and I got an SIR which I can sell for 100, so I gained 30, I made a profit? You didn't, because as an accountant you purchase an asset. And if you want to make a profit, you should sell your asset and cash in the difference. No, the profit. Until you sell it, you didn't make a profit. And it shouldn't be about making a profit. It should be about building a collection which you like, something that you like to share with others, maybe pass on to the next generation, whatever it might be. I'm not saying that people can't use it to invest, but it's a piece of art at the end of the day, and it's a new form of modern art that is spreading. This trading card game thing is becoming a serious art endeavor. You have a lot of effort here in the artworks, but I think it's excessive on how people see it for the monetarily purposes. And I think it also as it has created unhealthy expectations about the purchases, because now someone gets a double rare and people are deflated. Some people don't even consider it a pull. Look at these cards. Now compare their design, their intricacy with today's EX cards, the double rare, the normal version, not the secret rare version of those cards. These cards are much more simple. Heck, we can think and understand that now we get a hollow at least guaranteed in each pack, at least in the English version. That's something that you don't get in the past. Now, obviously, the hollows they don't have the same holographic pattern. You won't get a hollow today that shines like this card, for example, who has a swirl and all of that. I understand, but I think that the excessive focus on the monetary aspect of these cards have taken people out of the joy of collecting. It doesn't a card doesn't have to be worth a lot to be a great card. Even sometimes when people get a full art, they get disappointed. And everyone has their own right to feel how they want to feel. But I think it's excessive when someone opens a pack and they have to show the value of each card they get. So it's like, oh, look, 5 cents. Oh, look, 19 cents. Oh, this one is 2 cents. This one is 30 cents. Like, is there really a useful information for the video? Is there really something worth knowing? And then, most people, how, and me included, we open the pack, we want to see the pool. So we pretty much just skip almost through all of the other cards, the bulk cards. So I think it's excessive the way that people think about the monetarily value of it. Again, I'm not saying it's something that people shouldn't necessarily do. Like, you're free to do wherever you want, but and I understand it's human nature to really try to put a value, try to put a score, try to put something objective that qualifies a card and its worth in the secondary market. Is that we pull a card and we say, oh, I pulled an awesome card. Okay, how much more awesome can it be than the other awesome card? But if you say, oh, I pulled a Moonbryon, it's worth 100 or $1,000. Okay, that's you know uh, 850 more than this Lugia EX, for example. Uh, so I understand the people's urges to quantify things, but we need to look past the numbers, especially considering that it's a hobby where most people will collect and few will sell. Maybe I'm underestimating. Maybe a lot of people will sell these cards, but at least me at the moment, I am not expecting on it. Now, last topic, the Pokemon product. How the sets are, how the cards are. I think that in an objective view, taking out all of the nostalgia bias, that for example, my liking of EX cards, I think that the Scarlet and Violet era has been for the cards themselves, not the state of the hobby. I think it's been amazing. I think it might be the best generation when it comes to upholding a standard throughout each set. What do I mean by this? Let's think about Sword and Shield alternate arts. Let's think about the Sun and Moon tag team cards. They're great. They're amazing. Some are worth a lot of money. And most of them are very pleasing to look at it through an artistic lens. But they all came on the later half of uh, of the generation. We didn't have these alt arts in the Sun and Moon, or sorry, in Sword and Shield base. We didn't even have art rares in Sword and Shield base, if I remember correctly. We had the V cards, the V Max cards, uh, and the full art cards. And then we had the rainbow ones. I think that's what we had as far as type of cards that go beyond, just the common and common, rare hollow cards. And for Sun and Moon, we had the GX cards and we had the full art, and also I think the rainbow ones. So we didn't necessarily have all of those core cards that make up the generations. We didn't have them starting on the first set. And that's why I think that the Scarlet and Violet base set is super underrated. I think it's one of the best base sets ever for a generation because you pretty much have everything you want there. You want illustration rares, you have them. You want special illustration rares, you have them. You still have the full art, and I think you have the gold cards. The art rares or the illustration rares and the special illustration rares are what make the Scarlet and Violet era great. And they've been there from the start, and they have been keeping just a great, consistent level of quality throughout all the sets to the point that Black Bolt and White Flare, each card had either an art rare or a special art rare. To me, that's amazing. The fact that they can take a full generation of Pokemon, over 150 cards, and make a full or basically a art rare card where the full card is the illustration and not have them look stale. I think it's a great accomplishment. I don't know how many artists were involved, if they worked overtime or whatnot, but they definitely did very well on that set. Pull rates wise, I think they could be more generous. Obviously, you want to keep the urge of opening the next pack and collecting, and you don't want to make it too easy. Although, when I hear fans say, "Oh, this card was so available, it lost its value," like, is it really that bad that you can actually have a chance of pulling a card out? But I think that they could have a better pull rate because, for example, let's think about this era. We had the common, uncommon, rare. We had the rare hollow, which was a hit, and there are so many amazing hollow cards from this generation. We had the EX cards, and some sets had the gold star cards. But essentially, the type of pulls that you would generally get, the hits, would be the hollow and the EX. Yes, you could get a reverse hollow rare that would look very good, uh, but that's about it. With these kind of cards, it made sense to get, uh, you know, a hit one in every 3 packs, and to, I guess, maybe get 3 to 5 EX per booster box, which would be 36 packs. That ratio makes sense. With the current style of cards, where you have the gold cards, you have the full arts, you have the art rares, the special art rares, the double rares, and the gold cards are hyper rare, they're rarity. I think you should give more good cards more often. You don't have to get a special art rare in every 3 packs, uh, but I think you should, let's say, get a double rare or better every 3 packs, or even two. Honestly, well, maybe that's a bit too much. Um, but if you buy, uh, uh, we are looking at it just full numbers, so 1, 2, 3, but basically to put a ratio, I'd say if you bought a booster bundle of 6 packs, I think half of it should be hits. And by hits, I mean a double rare or better. I think that they can also do something about the holographic cards. I think that their value has decreased, not that they're guaranteed, but also because in general, the pattern, the shine, the holographic foil doesn't really jump out. So I think that they could reorganize it in the next generation, the one, basically generation 10, the one after this, you know, this shorter generation, which I'm assuming will be shorter, of the Mega Evolution set of cards. I think that they could reorganize it and really look at the full art. I think they should keep for a few more generations the concept of the art rare and the special art rare. Maybe they can iterate on it and maybe add like a third tier, which they kind of have already now with the well, they're not kind of, they do, because they have the golden cards, which is not just a full art coated or with the golden pattern. It's actually, it looks more like a art rare, but in golden. Not as generic of a pose, or a pose that you won't find in any other card. And they also showed a new kind of rarity with the Mega Charizard X and Lucario and Gardevoir, but where they have the name of the attack in the card, like the old Mega EX cards had in the X and Y era. But I think that they can keep iterate on this art rare, special art rare kinds of cards. But I think that they can rework the full arts, the double rares, and the reverse hollows, and the Pokeball reverse hollows, and the Master Ball reverse hollows, and the holographic cards. I think they can rework it and find it a bit more satisfying, and maybe be able to fulfill this ratio of getting a hit. Uh, well, uh, if I say then a booster bundle of 6 cards, you should get 3 hits. Then I guess it's a 1 hit every 2 cards. It doesn't have to be again a special art rare, but I think that they can work it in a way to make it uh, less discouraging to open packs, because sometimes it can be. You look at what you can get on eBay for the price, and then you go to your local store, and obviously ripping packs is always fun because you don't know what you're going to get. The surprise aspect of it's good, and you have a chance of getting a card that in the secondary market would be hard to afford, but the chances are very low, and you're essentially gambling. And in most cases you'll spend more chasing the card that you than you will by purchasing it. But yeah, like, for example, I think about the, the pattern in the holographic cards, in some of the holographic cards in the 25th anniversary celebration packs, where they had a kind of a old school style hollow from the era which that Pokemon was on, but the full card had a certain texture. Or how they have the Master Ball cards now. I think that they can try to make these cards feel a bit more special, so that people don't have to just pull out art rares to feel accomplished while opening packs. Whichever way they come up with, we will see. We still have this generation to get through, which seems to be starting off well, because they are iterating and coming up with some new ideas. Hopefully, they are not too impossible to pull. I haven't opened any of the new packs. I just purchased some art rares off of eBay. But hopefully, as Pokemon evolves, the pack opening experience is improved a bit. I'm not saying it's bad, uh, but I definitely think they can be a bit more generous. So yeah, guys, that's what I think. Hope you enjoyed the video.